Hey, what's up guys? JP here with RideShare Orange County, and I don't know if you guys were aware, but yesterday there was some sort of, I guess you could call it a protest or a rally in Sacramento for RideShare independence. I believe it was sponsored by, or whatever you want to call it, Uber, I believe. I'm not 100% sure on that, so I'll say allegedly. And allegedly, Uber actually paid drivers to show up there and say they agreed with what Uber says, that we should sign these petitions and whatnot that they've been putting out to combat, was it the bill that is going to be decided on here very shortly. And I did find an article, Gizmodo. Workers rack up another victory as California preps to classify Uber and Lyft drivers as employees. I'm just going to read this real quick. Rideshare drivers in California turned out in droves in support of the Senate bill that would classify them as full employees. They walked away this afternoon with another victory in what is likely to continue to be a long, ugly fight. First introduced to the State Assembly in January as Assembly Bill 5, or AB 5, by Representative Laura Gonzalez, the bill confides and expands a landmark state Supreme Court ruling from last May, which wrestled with the same employment classification issue and determining whether a worker is a true independent contractor, as Uber, Lyft, and other quote-unquote gig economy platforms contend, or employees. There are a number of legal tests that, in simple terms, suss out whether the labor has sufficient say in how and when the work is completed. California's Supreme Court, in applying the broader quote-unquote ABC test, decided contract drivers working for delivery firm Dynamics were improperly classified, opening the door for gig workers across the state to challenge their own status. In an email to Gizmodo, Samantha Gallegos, a spokesperson for Representative Gonzalez, wrote that gig economy companies, quote, are likely already misclassifying their workers under the Dynamics decision. Assembly Bill 5 would codify this decision and bring clarity to those professions and industries in which workers actually do operate as independent contractors. AB 5 overwhelmingly passed this May 53-11. With the bill now working its way through various state Senate votes, rideshare companies have given their gloves a coat of tiger balm, pushing messages out to drivers that campaign against AB 5. A vague petition sent to drivers in the state urged them to, quote, fight for driver flexibility and independence. Many such drivers reportedly signed the petition, later regretting the decision when they realized they were helping undermine their own chances of employee classification. Today's protest outside the Capitol building in Sacramento was also preceded by a counter-protest yesterday opposing the bill, obviously to the benefit of rideshare companies, which reportedly paid to supply participants with free t-shirts and food, according to the San Francisco Chronicle. In the end, the pro-AB 5 group, which consisted of drivers, activist groups like Gig Workers Rising, Rideshare Drivers United, Fight for 15, and trade groups like the Service Employees International Union, came out victorious. The Labor, Public Employment, and Retirement Committee of the California Senate voted in favor of the bill 3-1. The AB 5 has made this far despite the deep ties California has to the companies, the majority of which are based in the state. Says a great deal about how far drivers have been able to shift public opinion on the gig economy. However, the fight is far from over. The state Senate Appropriations Committee will hear the bill next, and if successfully passed, will head to a full Senate vote. Assuming all goes well, Representative Gonzalez's team expects law to go in effect January 1st, 2020. Now, quickly, this is what I have to say about that bill and everything going on. Do I want to be an employee of Uber? No. Do most drivers want to be an employee of Uber? I do not believe so, from what I've heard. Again, I can't say. I've only been a rideshare driver for, about a month now. But let's say I worked with a Fortune 100 company, or for a Fortune 100 company until very recently. And I went through a very similar situation to this with them, as far as labor relations and stuff goes. Obviously, with them, it was a little bit different. We were already classified as employees. So for the last 10 years since Uber was initiated, we've all been, as drivers, have been classified as independent contractors, or gig workers, as they call, because we're not true contractors. True contractors would be able to set their price and tell Uber, well, this is how much we charge for our services, and then they either accept it or they don't. So we're working a gig. Basically, they offer, say, hey, if you want to come drive for us, this is how much we offer you. We accept that, but we're under contract to them. We're not employed by them. Gig workers. Okay. And that's all well and good. We could still stay as gig workers, but I think in the end of the day, we need a seat at the table. We need a chance for our voice to be heard, right? For Uber to include us in what's going on with the decision making at the company. We are that company. Without the drivers out there picking up those passengers, they would not have a company. They've admitted as much. They've admitted that if they have to bring us on as employees, that basically their whole company model would not work. So it mystifies me. These companies seem to be getting very greedy. And when they don't want to give. They just want to take and take and take, but they don't want to give, because they feel like the second they give and they give in and they look like, they're going to be a little soft-hearted and maybe, give a little more to the drivers, that, it's going to open up the floodgates for us to just, take back everything that they've taken away from us. 10 years ago, it was 75% for the driver and 75% for the driver and 25% for the company. In 10 years, it's now apparently on average, I haven't done the math on my own drives or done any surveys, but from what I've heard, on average, nationally or internationally, it's about 40% for the drivers, 60% for Uber. Obviously, that varies on fare to fare. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more, but on average, comes out to about 60-40 in favor of the company. And yeah, I think that there's a little adjustment to be made there. But I don't think we all want to have boss Uber telling us what to do, when to work. We still want to keep that flexibility. I don't think anybody's in disagreement there, except for those few people that do actually want to be absorbed into the company as full-fledged employees. But I think those people are probably people who have been driving with Uber for a while, who are probably drive full-time and probably drive as a sole source of income. That's their primary job. So, to them, that's already their 9 to 5. But for people like myself and many other Uber drivers who just want to do this as a gig, part-time, when, we have the time to do it, we need that flexibility. But we also need to see a little bit more money, I think, for the fares, because it's not cheap to put gas in a car. It's not cheap to maintain a car when you're putting 200 miles on it a day driving, okay? And it's not cheap to go out and buy a brand new car and drive it and put, 1,000 miles a week on it, 52,000 miles a year on it if you're driving 7 days a week. But, even if you're not, you're putting like 30, 40,000 miles on your car a year, maybe driving Uber, and your car is going to depreciate in value really fast. So we need to have that all taken into consideration and maybe see a little bit more compensation for our efforts, because it's not just the time we're driving. It's, we're driving our personal vehicles. We're paying to change our oil. We're paying for the gas. Oh, I don't know. Let me know what you think about this and where you stand, because I respect everybody's opinions and everybody's point of views. I'm just telling you where I'm coming from and what I'm thinking. And if I'm missing the point about something here, or if I'm off base, let me know where. I'd love to discuss it. Anyways, this is JP, RideShare Orange County. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. JP signing off.